afternoon. Imagine what it's like losing, members of your family, not just one member, or losing touch with them. Not just one member, but 19 of them. Well, you can read that as a true story of the family that were torn apart through poverty in a book called Doreen's Lot, and it's being written by Peter Bennett and Jane Matthews. Pleased to say that Peter actually joins me on the programme now. You've just handed me this book, Peter. I didn't realise quite how thick and heavy this book is.
Yes, it's quite a long story.
Tell me a little bit about this. This is sort of a story of someone that you know?
Yes, it is. It all started, I suppose, in January 2013, when my wife and I went over to Australia to stay with Sue's brother, Steve. And he lives in Perth in Australia. And while we were over there, his partner Emma started to tell me about her mother, Doreen, who is the subject of this book. And it really sort of took my fancy that this was a story that I'd really like to write about. And she was telling me that her mother had had various articles written about her life, parts of her life over the years. Various women's magazines and even national newspapers had written parts of her story, but nobody had ever written the whole thing. And she, Emma said to me that her mother would very much like to write the whole thing. It tickled my fancy, so basically, when I came back to England, I contacted Doreen, and that's when it all began.
So is this, have you written other stuff before, Peter?
Yes, I have. I've written a couple of autobiographies of various parts of my own life, and also written a spy thriller. So they've all been self-published. None of them have been actually published in paperback form.
So, you then said about having a conversation with Doreen and finding out all about her family, and then turning it into a story. So tell me about the true story of the quest to find a family of 19. 19.
Yes, it's amazing, really, that basically when she was born, she was the 16th member of the family. And very soon afterwards, her father died, and her mother, Mary, had great difficulty in feeding them and clothing them, and it was suggested by the authorities that she was neglecting them, and her mother was actually jailed for neglect, and 10 of them were actually put into care and split up. The girls were put into a Westerham care home in Kent, and 3 of her brothers were actually put into different care homes. The ones who were over 16 all went their own way, and she had absolutely no idea how many brothers and sisters she had until after she came out of care when she reached the age of 16, and she set about her quest trying to discover who they were and how many she had.
Incredible. That must have been an emotional journey.
Yes, it would have been a very emotional day. Her father, who was born in 1876, so can you imagine somebody still alive today who had a father born in 1876? He was a very prominent person in the army, and he actually fought in the Boer War in South Africa and was decorated at the highest level. He was given the Distinguished Conduct Medal for his bravery in battle, and later on he was also given the Freedom of the City of London, which is a very high award indeed, only given to people like, for instance, Winston Churchill in the past. And he was married for 16 years to a person her while he was serving in the forces in Dublin. She was Irish, and their marriage was childless. And he eventually came back to England after serving 21 years in the army, and she left him. We don't really know why she left him. And basically he became a publican, and Mary, who was 30 years his junior, walked into his pub, and ironically she was a cousin of his first wife, and we can't find any record of them ever divorcing. And he fathered 18 children in 23 years after his first marriage being totally childless.
Incredible, isn't it? Mm. So did you spend a lot of time sort of doing the research with Doreen?
Yes, it took me 2 years to research it. And Doreen has spent most of her life trawling through various records, looking at births, marriages and death certificates, and going through various records from the care home, etc. And she gave me a whole pile of stuff, that letters and birth and death certificates, etc. So I first started out by doing a family tree and working it all out, and it was then that we discovered that she had more brothers and sisters than she actually realised she had.
So how many did she actually think she had?
Well, all her life she carried a photograph with her that she had, a black and white photograph. She carried it all the way through the time she was in care, and in it there was a picture of her mother and father in a garden, and that's on the front cover of the book.
Yeah.
And that doesn't actually show 19 children on it. So basically she had a shock when she started to uncover there were far more than were on the photograph.
There's 10 in that, 10 in the photo,
10, yes.
Including her, so she would have assumed there was 9 in total.
Yeah.
Obviously you don't want to give too much away as far as, the conclusion, but what was it like for her to, did she find any of them as such?
Yes. Unfortunately, one or two of them died at birth, and one or two of them had already passed away when she uncovered them. But she has met some of them, and there are 7 of them still alive. So now she's in touch with them all, and so yes, it was emotional moments when she found those that are still alive. The Daily Mail actually helped her very, very much in trying to find and uncover the remaining members of her family, but in the end it was her who did all the digging, and it was quite a long job for her to find them all.
Where did she find them? Where were they?
Well, they've been spread about all over the country, to be honest, and one of them actually saw an article in a regional newspaper saying that she was actually looking for him, and he saw the article in the newspaper and contacted her, but others she found by just digging around through all the different places she was searching for.
Gosh, that must have been an emotional roller coaster.
Yes, it was. Yes. Yeah.
And did you get a chance to meet any of them?
No, I haven't. But yes, well, sorry, I have. I've met a couple of her sisters who have related to me some of their, traumas that they went through during their life.
What sort of circumstances did she find them in?
Well, some of them have done better than others. There was one who was she found who was busking in a local park, and she was very upset from the point of view that she had actually been into this park several times and seen this, who she later found out to be her brother, and not realised that it was her brother. And he eventually drowned in a lake before she met him, which was very emotional.
Gosh. You can read all about it in Doreen's Lot by Peter J. Bennett. It is, as you've been hearing, a true story of Doreen. Doreen, I can't see her surname now, it's outrageous. Fiffield.
Yes.
Fascinating story, and all because you took a trip to Australia.
Yes. It's available to download, but we are very much looking for somebody to take this on for us and publish it in paperback form. But it is available to download.
Okay, if you look for Doreen's Lot by Peter Bennett and Jane Matthews, all the information will be on there. It's good talking to you, Peter. Thank you for joining me on the show this afternoon.
Thank you.
Peter Bennett there. Doreen's Lot, a true story of the quest to find a family of 19. That's the story. Coming up after 2 o'clock.